Thank you, and be seated. And Madam Secretary, will you call the roll? Make it up. Note the presence of quorum. What do we got to do to get legal here?
I think we're all here.
Commissioner Mann, here. Pam, here. Mayor, here. Ex-mayor.
Former.
You're always my mayor. Here.
Renee Afforded.
Here.
Mike Stevenson.
Here.
Brian Myers.
Here.
Anita Saraceno.
Here.
Pamela Cronin.
So happy to be here.
Tony Lappy.
Here.
Colleen
Here.
Rob Wells.
Here.
Bill Achulis.
Here.
Brian Kramer.
Here. Well, I would say that proves that there is a quorum present and then some. I know everybody has committed the minutes of the last meeting to memory. Do I have someone who would move their acceptance? So moved. I have a second. Is there any discussion on it? Show them adopted without objection. Municipalities, who wants to talk to it? No, public to be heard. Public, any member of the public? Public, step forth, introduce yourself, although you're known to just about everybody here. And take not more than 45 minutes.
Good morning. For the record, John Naylor. I'm here today as a businessman in the small business in Fort Myers. I think everybody knows what's going on in the world today, but unfortunately we seem to be the bullseye between Zika virus, mass shootings, the lot going down the river on the other coast, which we get lumped into. All of those things concern me greatly as a small businessman because not only are my clients, but my clients depend on tourism and visitors coming. I'm not sure if I was a millennial living in Chicago or Boston or Minneapolis, and I was planning my vacation for next spring, and we were thinking about starting a family, that I'd rush right down to Florida. And I guess my concern is, and my question to the group is, what are we doing about it? What are we doing to paint a better picture? I mean, even yesterday, that horrible situation in Punta Gorda, the national news didn't say Punta Gorda. It said near Fort Myers. So again, we become the bullseye. And I'm just concerned, what are we doing proactively? We can promote beaches and clean environment, on and on and on. But if there's a fear factor out there, and the media loves fear, we're going to be, again, the bullseye for that. So just food for thought. Thank you.
Other members of the public, welcome, present yourself. He left most of his 45 minutes, so you can just take as much as you want.
I'll be quick. My name's Beth Oliver, Director of Sales and Marketing at Offshore Sailing School. We're based here in Fort Myers with 7 sailing schools, 3 in Florida, 2 in the BVI, and 2 in New York. And I just wanted to say thank you to the VCB. Basically, on what John just said, I completely understand, and we have schools in the BVI and here. And we did have 1 cancellation, a party of 2 in the BVI. We have not had any here. We haven't had any concerns expressed over it, so that's just what we're experiencing. On a much happier note and more pleasant subject, we did host a sailing excursion with a writer from the New York Daily News, and it was completely set up by South Seas Resort on Captiva and their PR agency that has an office in Florida as well as New York. So the New York Daily News writer came down, and she actually experienced all of what Sanibel, Captiva, and Fort Myers had to offer, and she wrote an absolutely excellent article that was in the New York Daily News last Sunday. And then also we expanded and leveraged that and sent additional pictures out through social media. So the area did get very positive press coverage as a result of that, FAM. So just for any companies here, and it does happen a lot of times working through an independent PR agency that you retain because that's what they do all day long, trying to get great publicity. But it does work when we host writers and they write about this area, and then that gets expanded and it's a third-party endorsement. So I would encourage all of us to take advantage of those kinds of opportunities, and we're always happy to do that. So if you have someone coming to town, please let us know. We'd be happy to take them on a comp sale. All right? Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Other members of the public, we can squeeze you in. Well, last chance. You're out of luck now. Cities that want to be heard. I saw a representative from the islands, and she denied that she wanted to talk. And her boss, the mayor, is here also, and he said, no, thank you. Kevin, are you sure? My goodness. Let the record show that the honorable mayor has had about declined an opportunity to speak, and that's the first time that has ever happened. Kevin, thanks for all you do. Glad to have you here today. Other municipalities, we're going to talk about Fort Myers at some point, but they don't want to talk yet.
We'll wait for that.
We'll wait for that. Look, everybody here is special, and we're glad you're here, but we don't always have a representative from FSW College. Dr. Bob Jones, where are you seated? Right back here. Let's say, Bob, thank you for being here for the college. Dr. Jones, a veteran in long-standing service to that great institution. Municipalities, last chance, going once, twice. Madam Director.
Well, we have a new TDC member in place today. I'd like to very much welcome Brian Kramer to the
Brian,
table.
stand up and turn around and let everybody see you. We're glad to have you. He represents the hoteliers. He's got huge feet to fill in the person of Jeff. Jeff, you stand up now and let's say thank you for all that you have done.
We have a plaque for Jeff.
Oh, Jeff, walk this way. This is your time. Drum roll, TV cameras, pictures. Who's a picture? We got a picture person, don't we?
Picture person.
Somebody's got it.
I got it.
Aha, the lawyer's got it.
Very kind of you guys. Oh, yes. Maybe sandwiches in here. Between trouble.
There we go.
Thank you very much.
Just stand right here and say a word or two. He has been a major contributor to the success of this organization. We're going to miss you, but I know you sent us a good scrub. We'll clean him best we can.
I just want to thank you all very much. I really enjoyed my time here. Hopefully I made a difference and allowed you guys to open your eyes to some great stuff and some things we need to look at. I wish you all the best of luck. I am not gone. All right, I'm still around, still doing what I'm doing, hotel and so forth, but moving on to some other responsibilities and opportunities. So wish you guys the best of luck. If you need something, let me know, and if you want me to say something, let me know. See you guys later. Thank you.
Won't have to wait. Just like it.
All right, let's get on with the director's report. First, before I get started, I would like to introduce a new staff member. Jackie Rodriguez, will you please stand up so everybody can see you? So I think Jackie is our new administrative specialist, and she will provide administrative, technical, and analytical support to the communications team, as well as assisting with journalists, media, and our travel calendars. And of course, she will also help coordinate these meetings as well. She comes to us from Leetran, where she prepared travel arrangements, managed customer service calls, and worked with management to complete special projects. Prior to that, she was actually with Carnival Cruise Line, so she does have a background in hospitality, and we're really happy to, I think she was there for 7 years, which is impressive, and we are really happy to have Jackie on our team, and more importantly, we're really happy that Jackie means we are fully staffed. We're really happy about that. I'm hoping I don't have to do this again for a long, long time, introduce any new staff. It's fantastic news for us. With that, I want to get right into the reports. I know we have a pretty long meeting here for you. Bed tax collection, we're going to do both May and June for you because, of course, last month. For the month of May, bed tax collection was up 0.4%. For June, it was up 2.8%. And then for year over year, that ends up being a 5.1% increase year to date through the end of June. So just in context, I know it's certainly not the year we had last year or the year before that, but I think it's important as we talk about all the challenges we faced that our bed tax collection is still up 5.1%. Next, let's quickly do the STAR report. For May, we had an increase in occupancy, but a decrease in ADR and thus a decrease in RevPAR. For June, occupancy was flat, but we saw an increase in ADR and RevPAR. So a little bouncing around there in terms of performance, but flat occupancy for June.
Sam?
Yes.
For those of us not part of a flag hotel, I'm assuming there's some sort of auto rate in these numbers. So based on hotel occupancy, you're having a reservation software that's smart enough to go up and down and those kind of things. Is that what you attribute these slight changes to, or maybe somebody else?
I probably shouldn't be the one to speak for how that works. Maybe one of the other hoteliers could. I think they have revenue managers that manage the heck out of their ADR, but Brian or Bill?
So we have full-time revenue managers that just monitor the rates and market conditions and demand, what the market's selling, and adjust the rates on a daily basis. And the increases that I think you see here are just us continuing to increase the rates over the course of time in the area.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. That was your first speech.
Same, Bill. You know, I mean, some people, I think there is software, Rob, just to answer your question, that does monitor that, but I think it always requires the human touch. But I would let the hoteliers who are really the experts at this speak to it. So. All right, traffic at the airport. Good news there. Similar to us, a slight increase for May, 0.7%, but 2.3% for June. It's always nice to see the summer numbers growing at the airport. That's good news for summer air service. Congratulations to them. For the year, airport traffic, when I saw these numbers, I was like, they're going to think that's a typo. It looks exactly like the bed text, the change, up 5.4 through the year for May and up 5.1 for June. I don't know if that's a coincidence or just maybe there is some parallel there in the way that works, but it is interesting. But good news. In terms of,
while you're on airport, do you want to talk about tomorrow's numbers?
sure.
Is everybody invited?
Good question. I would think that we should invite all the TDC members.
Yeah.
Had a call yesterday from Visit Florida. The governor is going to announce the second quarter Visit Florida stats at the airport tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the conference room of the Port Authority, the main conference room there when you go into the port offices. And they've asked Chairman to introduce the governor on our behalf.
It's a big photo op, so y'all come join us. Anybody, it's an exciting time when the governor comes sit down, and when we're throwing the event at the airport. Nothing but good things have happened out there. All these numbers continue to be good, so this is an opportunity where everybody else sees the sky falling is to come celebrate good things that are happening around here. So if you're free at 2, join us at the airport tomorrow.
All right, KPIs very quickly. Inquiries are up over 200%. Our leads are down about 16%. And our partner referrals this year are down about 21%. I think that we're very much looking forward to launching the new website, and you'll be hearing more about that when Brian gives his marketing report. Hopefully we will see some enhanced performance on those partner referrals. With that, I'm going to ask Marcia Wood to come up and give us our second quarter data report.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me okay without the standalone mic? Okay.
Feel
Marcia
free to
Wood.
talk as loud as you can.
I will talk as loud as I can. I'm Marcia Wood with DPA. We're presenting the quarterly results for the spring season, which is April May, and June. So for our paid accommodations guest report, visitation, we saw a 3% increase, which we have been seeing a little bit of a decline in recent quarters. So it was encouraging to see this visitation go up, and mainly that was attributable to a larger party size. If you jump down to the occupied room nights, you see that we were relatively flat year over year. So you might wonder, well, how is it that we're up in visitation? Again, if we've got the same number of people staying or the same number of rooms occupied, but we have more people per room, then that's going to translate to an increase in visitation. We saw that our expenditures in total among paid accommodations guests were just about even, a little bit lower than last year, and their spending on lodging was really comparable to what they had spent last year at this time period. Average occupancy rate, we saw a decline of 4%, and that is, again, what I said was we had that flat occupied room nights, but we did have an increase in our available room nights, some of which was driven by the RV park and campground category, where we saw almost like a readjustment. Last year, we had seen a decline in available room nights, and then we're kind of rebounding again. The other thing is that I know that there was a property in the hotel motel category that we didn't have in our inventory last year, and we have it in there this year. So that those, there are other things that contribute to that, but because we had an increase in available room nights coupled with flat occupied room nights, that translated to a decrease in our occupancy rate. ADR, really, you could say that's dead even with last year, $142.44. We're only off by a few cents from last year. And then RevPAR, because we had that occupancy rate decline, RevPAR went down for the spring season. Looking at the longer range trends on visitation, we do see a little bit of a curve there, where if you look back at 2012, we were at 646,000. Now we're up to 819,000 for our paid accommodations guests, which gives us a huge increase over a 5-year span. But really, we saw that peak in 2014. One thing that we do point out here is the timing of Easter, which often does have an impact on our spring visitation numbers. So this year, Easter was in March, didn't have that much of a negative impact this year, whereas last year it was in April. Visitor expenditures, as I said before, year over year, we saw that there was, that it was basically flat. But if we, again, look at the 5-year trend, we are seeing an increase overall, both in our total visitor expenditures as well as among those who are staying in paid accommodations. Visitor origin, as we typically see, the majority of the visitors staying in paid accommodations are from domestic markets, but we did see a bit of growth with international. And, I think it's reasonable to assume that the people who had, from international markets, who had their plans may not have made any changes in their plans as a result of any issues going on here in the market, whereas domestic visitors have more of an opportunity to change last minute. Germany continued to be a strong market in the spring season, stronger than usual though, and did dig into this a bit more just to make sure that there wasn't anything in particular that was driving it. But remember that these numbers are derived from the visitor profile surveys that we do, which are on-the-ground intercept surveys, and looking at all of the different places that we interview, all of the different locations that we did intercepts, we saw that we had at least one German intercepted at, I think it was 2/3 of the locations that we interviewed at. So it wasn't, I mean, there were a couple locations where we saw more Germans than we had seen the prior year, but generally speaking, it did seem like we were encountering more Germans. So, just wanted to point that out, that we did dig into that more because it's a bit unusual that that number would be as high as it is.
Well, wait a minute. Have you forgotten that just, 3 months ago, the chairman of the TDC went to Germany,
Well, yes.
made a
Yes.
speech in German to those people, inviting them to come? It's no surprise to me.
Okay, all right. Well, Tam and I discussed it. She hadn't made, or at least didn't communicate that tie.
Put a little footnote in it.
Okay, all right. I will make sure. So I guess that means that next year you have to do the same thing then.
I want to be honest, we were pleasantly surprised,
Yes.
but when you see a big jump like that.
They came in spite of my speech.
No, we're thrilled that they came. Everybody happy to have the Germans? But I did say to Marcia when I saw the number, I'm like, wow, that's a big jump, let's take a look at it. So she did dig in a little further so that we could make sure that the data was really supporting that.
Right. And it's not to say that Germans haven't been strong players in the spring season in the past. If you look at 2014, they were 8%, so they were, ahead of the UK and Canada. Same thing in 2013, but 11% is the highest that we've seen for that period. So it was, just something that was worth digging into and making sure that there wasn't something else going on. In terms of our domestic paid accommodations guests, as we typically see, Midwest makes up the largest share of those guests, at just under half of them coming from the Midwest, and that's consistent with what we've seen in previous years. And Florida, we see at right about 8%, a little bit lower, just 1 percentage point off from last year, but still higher than 2013 and 2014. The DMAs specifically that were feeding the lodging industry were Indianapolis and Boston were the top 2 DMAs, followed closely by Chicago, New York, and Detroit a little bit behind that. Just a look at the calendar year to date. So now we're halfway through the year. As I mentioned earlier, looking at the spring season, we saw a 3% increase in visitation, but for the first 6 months, we are seeing a little bit of a decline. But that is coupled with the expenditures being, higher than they had been last year. So it's not necessarily an alarming situation that visitation is down, because we are still seeing this increase in their spending, which is really ultimately. Lodging spending is up 3.5%. I think that aligns, fairly well with what you see in bed tax collections. Available room nights is up 3.5%. Occupied room nights just about even with what it was last year. So there again, we see the average occupancy rate is down just a bit. ADR still up over last year, and RevPAR is essentially dead even with last year. For the calendar year visitation, we see, it's a similar kind of curve to what we saw with the spring season. Definitely a large increase in our paid accommodations visitation over the past 5 years. If we look all the way back to 2012, we're up 17%. We saw that peak in 2014, leveling off, between 2015 and 2016. But the visitor expenditures are generally on an upward trend, so that's good news. We're hoping for another strong year in 2016. We're hoping that it continues to be another strong year in 2016. Our visitor origin, we see that Germany and Canada making up the largest share of our international visitors. And domestically, half coming from the Midwest. You know, again, it mirrors very closely with what we see in the spring season. Boston and Indianapolis are the top DMAs for the first half of the year, followed by Minneapolis, New York, and Chicago. For our lodging industry summary, available and occupied room nights. Looking at the spring season, as I pointed out before, we saw that we had a little bit of an increase this year in our available room nights. We're still not as high in available room nights as we were in 2014 or even 2012 and 2013, but we had, you know, much more of a drop-off last year, so it came back up again. And but essentially our occupied rates are, you know, they were increasing for several years and now sort of stabilized. Calendar year, it's a very similar pattern. So what does that mean for our occupancy rate? We saw the 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015 strong growth. 2016 coming down from 2015, but still up over where we were in 2014. Oops. So looking at the 5-year growth, we had an 18.5% increase in our spring season occupancy rate, and for the calendar year, we have a 12.9% increase. And I will go through this quickly, but just to point out that, you know, this is the breakdown of what we see by category. So where we're seeing the biggest shifts are in the condo vacation home category. Now I'm going to use the fun thing. So we've got that kind of a drop-off there. And then again, over here, looking at 3 years, we see that we're going, you know, from 34.1% in 2014. We had a big increase in 2015. Now we're down in 2016, but it's really still higher than we were in 2014.
Excuse me, Kim?
Yep.
Do you mind if I ask Fran a question on that?
Oh.
Hey, Fran, you know, it seemed like last year that like RV associations and the nationals, it was like commercials all over TV about buy an RV, about, you know, since gas was down and all that kind of stuff. Do you think that can be attributed to the raise in 2015?
I think so. A lot of it, yeah,
Oh,
they're
those were
pretty active.
So does it feel like what you know from your own information?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The drop in available room nights that you have from 2014 to 2015 went from 3.7 to 3.6 and then back up to 3.7. Is that a result of new inventory? Is that driven primarily in one market, condo market, RV market, or?
It's a little, well, I have to, you know, there's a lot of numbers, so I'm trying to remember exactly. I know last year, in 2015, we did have a large property in the condo category, which was pulled out of the inventory. So that definitely attributed to some of that decline that we saw from 2014 to 2015. You know, I don't remember. I know we had talked a lot about that, so that was definitely one in particular.
Condos and boat, I think when we talked about this.
Yes, and there were
condos
RV.
and the RVs
Yes.
both had a dip last year
Yep.
in available units.
Right,
And this year an increase in available units.
right.
And it looks to me like maybe last year was the anomaly a little
Yes.
bit. I mean, I think we kind of came to the conclusion
Yeah.
that the data we got last year maybe
Right.
was a bit of an anomaly.
And the other thing that I will point out is that, you know, on a positive note, we had better participation this past quarter in our occupancy survey than we have in quite a long time. And so that's great. However, what can happen is it starts to make some corrections, because regardless of whether we have data from all of the properties, we still have to project to the entire universe of lodging properties. So without actual data, we're making estimates for the properties who don't participate. And therefore, I know in particular, because I pour through this data, property by property, and it can get a little overwhelming. But we had some properties who had never participated before. They provided us information this year, this quarter, and it was, kind of a big adjustment in a downward direction. So that plays into it. Just to give you that perspective too. Yes, Rob?
Yeah, and that's probably, we've had a lot of conversations about Airbnb, VRBO. Mm-hmm. Some of what you're talking about is probably playing into that a little bit, because it's a little counterintuitive. When you look at the condo vacation home, you would assume if Airbnb and VRBOs are adding all of this availability out there, that you would potentially, and that they have better ways to market themselves, that you would see that condo vacation home, in my mind, would increase. Mm-hmm. Maybe what you're saying is you're getting more people participating in the survey as well, which could be changing that. I don't know if anybody's got any feel for that.
We certainly aren't getting the Airbnb properties that are participating in the survey. That's kind of an untapped market entirely, because it's
Individuals.
Yeah, it's individuals. You can't really tap into them to know.
Businesses, the vacation rental businesses.
Correct.
Which is the majority.
But again, it really kind of what Rob is saying is exactly part of the issue. If they're going away from the vacation
Right,
rental
and going
company and they're going to Airbnb, the vacation rental company is losing units. They're not being lost out of the marketplace, but they're being lost out of the survey data, because we're collecting unit information from you guys, from whoever's participating in the survey. So it is a little bit possibly that is showing up in terms of unit counts.
Mm-hmm. I guess my second question to that part is, do we have a way to outreach through the national companies, through Airbnb and VRBO? I think they're working with us pretty well as far as now working on making sure they collect tourism tax, for instance, on behalf of the individual renter, so that they can chase that around. So I guess, is there any way to outreach to them, to maybe work with them to get them added into the surveys? Because I think that would really help get our data a little better on the condo vacation home.
I don't have an answer to that question exactly. My concern would be that there is such, from what I know of the Airbnb market, is that it fluctuates so much in terms of the inventory that is available, because it can change at a moment's notice. So it's hard enough, I will say, to keep track of the condo vacation home category in its larger sense as we traditionally have known it, and then to introduce Airbnb, which could vary from day to day in terms of the inventory availability. I'm not sure how much it would help us, or whether it would just add more variability into the mix. But, certainly something we can investigate.
That would end up being, there are some people who have multiple properties, but you could be just speaking to one property.
Right.
It would be pretty, even just from a data crunching standpoint, the additional gathering and the additional crunching for one unit may not have the same value as really working hard to get those larger quantity
Well, the other issue
participants.
is you got the Airbnb renter that's renting a bedroom out
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
at their home.
Right.
And then they
How do you-
choose not to, and they do that for 1 week, but then they might not do that again for 6 months. So, I guess the way that potentially it could work would be if Airbnb as an organization could share some data with us about, that's kind of what I interpreted from your question. But I don't really know that they would actually do that down to a market level.
I did have the opportunity to visit with Airbnb on the Visit Florida Silicon Valley trip, and they were pretty darn protective of their data. I'll leave it at that. But
I mean, even Star, you know, they don't share data with us, so, which I know is probably annoying to some of the hoteliers because they're reporting to both Star and us, but we appreciate that they do.
Thank you.
Sure. Looking at our ADR trends, as I mentioned, we've got this 10% increase in ADR from 2012 to 2016. So, you know, at some point you would expect ADR to level off a bit, and, you know, perhaps that is what has happened between 2015 and, well, it is what has happened between 2015 and 2016, but still looking good overall. And if we look at the calendar year, we see an even larger increase, nearly 20% increase from 2012 to 2016. And that was still an increase from, you know, just year over year, remember. And not as much variability at the category level from year over year in our ADR estimates, but we did see, you know, a big, like in the condo vacation home category, we saw a big increase from 2014 to 2015, and then steady, a little bit more steady from 2015 to 2016. RV park campgrounds, they're fairly consistent, you know, not a lot of change from year to year. RevPAR continues to be strong when we look at the 5-year trend. That's up 30.6% from 2012. So, you know, you've gone up $20 from $67 to $87 if you just look at, you know, 5 years ago to today, and 34% for the calendar year. So very strong there. RevPAR by category. Visitor satisfaction. This, we had been, for a while, or, you know, at least several quarters, we had been seeing some decline in visitor satisfaction. That has leveled off, so it's not, we haven't seen an increase again, but we're not continuing to see a decline. So about half of the visitors are saying that they're very satisfied, and another 4 in 10 say that they're satisfied. So, you know, overall very strong. The expectations of the quality of their accommodations are generally met or exceeded, far exceeded. We did take a look at the least liked features. So for the spring season, the top 3 items, it's a list of items that respondents or participants can select. And traffic, insects, and water quality were the top 3, but as you can see, traffic, you know, is much more of an issue than insects and water quality. The boxes around these do indicate that there was a significant shift. So although I know there's been a lot of construction going on, we did see a decline in the proportion of respondents who said that traffic was an issue this spring versus last spring. And we saw an increase in the mentions of water quality as being an issue. Still a small minority. We also have beach seaweed and red tide as categories in our list. So we took a look at, okay, if we look at water quality, beach seaweed, and red tide, and, you know, what, if we look at all 3 of those, what proportion of respondents mentioned one of those 3? And we do see that increases about 2 in 10 say one of those as an issue, which was higher than what we saw last year. So
Still less than traffic. I mean,
it's still less than traffic, yes.
I wanted to point this out to you because I think we all have been very, very concerned about water quality and the response and the implications that would have on long-term visitation. But still, more of our visitors are reporting the thing they like the least is traffic.
Right.
Could ask, how much, where are these people we're getting the information from? I'm curious about how many are at Fort Myers Beach and having to deal with the construction.
If you look at the actual report, we have a list of the locations at the back of the report where we do all of our interviewing. So it's spread throughout the county, and we set up quotas so that you don't get too many.
I'm suspicious that to the extent they're being asked on Fort Myers Beach, that would skew the results.
Yeah, but it's the same proportion of respondents who were interviewed at Fort Myers Beach locations this year as last year. So it's not an artifact of we didn't do as many interviews at Fort Myers Beach. One thing Tam had mentioned when we talked about it was that it could also be the result of campaign that Sanibel has done as far as, off-peak times using, accessing the bridge, so.
The way we set up the quotas is based on units by area.
Yep.
So, the areas that have more vacation units have more surveys taken in that area. So Fort Myers Beach is we collect a lot of surveys at Fort Myers Beach. But remember, we're collecting 300 each month, 900 a quarter. And, if you'd like to know what those quotas look like. But in the back of the full report is a list of how many surveys were collected, where, and on the date. So they're very diligent about it. So it is interesting that the reporting of traffic was down, but that is the way the survey results came out.
How does the dissatisfaction with traffic and insects compare to other destination communities?
That I don't know. We don't have.
I bet the visitors in Orlando dislike the traffic too.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And we always see traffic in the winter season is even higher than that because traffic is more of an issue in the winter season. So it's.
Good news.
Let's take another step and look to the right side of the bottom of this page. We have 84% who say that they would recommend Lee County as a destination to friends or family over other destinations in Florida, is how the question is worded. And then we have 86% who say that they'll return to Lee County, and those are consistent year over year. So it's not that these issues, we're probing them to say, what did you not like about, being here in the destination? But that doesn't mean that it has an impact on their likelihood to come back. And we see that half of those who say that they'll return, generally, half say that they'll return next year. So, and that's consistent year over year. So I don't want to say that this is an issue. You're going to start to see a decline in visitation.
Nita, go ahead.
You know what I think is interesting about the traffic? So in 2015, it was 32% was the, people complained more about traffic in 2015. So I'm just going to use Fort Myers Beach as the example. We've got the Estera Boulevard Road project going on, our water project, our stormwater project. Now, there's a reason for our traffic. In 2015, it was just a parade. Just a long line of traffic. And quite honestly, I have to tell you, at least my customers and my personal experience, the Estera Boulevard project has been so extraordinary that I think our traffic congestion was actually less this year than it was in the previous year. The traffic moved better even with the project happening. I will probably get shot for saying that, but I think that's, Fran, do you disagree with me? A little bit.
But no doubt, don't you think that you had less locals probably entering that with the knowledge that the traffic was going on? There had to be.
Sure.
I think your
Adjustments made.
People made adjustments that probably had an effect on timing and other things. I don't know. I have to, even I said to Marcia, wow, down, considering the Fort Myers Beach project, I'm surprised. But perhaps the efforts that Sanibel made is what, because remember, a portion of these people are going to Sanibel as well. Perhaps that, they felt like there was an improvement there and they were reporting that less. But again, this is consumer to consumer. What did you like least about your trip? And we're prodding them to say something.
Right.
It's a pretty easy one.
Rob?
I would maintain that traffic is you hope to see traffic at the top of this list.
Right, not something else.
If somebody's asking you what you didn't like about your trip,
And it
and
was-
you say traffic, that's one of the better things that we can hope
Right.
in the community that
Right.
they say. And as it falls, I would assume that is probably a product of people, other things coming to people's mind more than traffic necessarily falling or whatever, meaning if you look at the difference in the water quality, it kind of answers, in my mind, most of the question about the traffic.
Right, because it's just.
Because we've been pounding
just
on
for-
water quality, and the negative stories about water quality have been so prevalent that I think that might come to people's mind first about what they didn't like.
Yeah.
We've discussed at great length about the water quality, and unfortunately, sometimes that issue is hijacked. I'm not saying it's not a problem. It's definitely a problem, but where, and I'm sure Tony and other people on the water see this, where sometimes the same water that we've always had is now perceived as dirty or not clean, or there's floating grass, or those kind of things. So I think that's just on people's mind.
Right. And I think, another positive, potentially, is that we didn't see any shift in mentions of insects. And, that, I know it's insects more broadly, but when you talk about what some of the challenges you've had, that's not something that came up as a bigger issue for people who might be thinking, well, what about the Zika virus, and how does that impact me in my visit here? So just pointing that out as well.
Since Rob touched on it, I think it's important to note that although water quality went from 3 to 10, more than tripled, that rain event that we had the end of January, which was 6 times the normal rain, and forced early discharges that we've never experienced before, and continual media coverage for until today. It really hasn't stopped. Far more than we've ever received in this period of the year, because normally the media coverage comes with the summer rains. But it began earlier and continued. But then you look to the next columns, and the people are going to return to Lee County remains the same. And the people that are going to recommend Lee County to their friends remains the same. So although people are aware of it, it doesn't seem to have become a factor in whether or not people are happy with Lee County. And I see that as a blessing, because I was looking for gloom and doom after the enormous amount of attention that's been paid to water issues. And I'm reflecting what Rob said, is certainly there are issues that we're going to continue to deal with, but I don't think, fortunately, it's not as devastating as some of us might have feared was about to happen.
Right. And just because it's fun to do, I circled the satisfaction at the top, and it also didn't impact their satisfaction with their visit. So whereas, we had been seeing some decay in satisfaction,
Not this year.
for no apparent reason, we're not seeing that this year. So I think that's, those are all important points to consider. So the outlook for the next 3 months is definitely not as nearly as positive as we've seen in the past, or seen for this period in recent years. I will say that if you can remember back to 3 months ago when I presented this same type of data for people who were the property managers who were reporting to us in April on, looking at April, May, and June, we saw a similar kind of pattern where all of a sudden their projected reservations for the spring season were looking much worse than they had in previous years. So we're kind of seeing that same pattern here. So it just, it is what it is. Hopefully we won't see it. It generally doesn't seem to pan out as poorly as what they expect at the point when we're asking them this. So I don't think it means that we're falling off a cliff, but definitely it's just worth noting that property managers are not feeling as encouraged by their reservations.
Pretty obvious reasons.
Did you see more of a trend on the beach properties versus inland, or it was pretty consistent through all the hotels?
I'll have to take a look at that, and I can get back to Tam. I don't recall, but we can take a look at that.
I would say, given the number, it probably would almost have to be across the board. Now,
Yeah,
it could have been slightly more pessimistic on the coastal properties, but given the quantity of that number.
Right. It's a
It would be
pretty big
proportion.
drop, yeah. And even last year, we did see a drop-off from 2014. So, it's, I think when I was presenting the winter season data, so looking at the spring season reservations, I think we saw more of that drop-off from 2015 to 2016, whereas here it's been a little bit more of a decline from 2014 to 2016.
Any other questions for Marcia? Thank you, Marcia.
Thank you.
All right. Judy, will you please give us Anna, will you please give us the sales report? Sorry, I'm not reading my lines very well there. Quickly.
Good morning. Anna Stone with the VCB, Director of Sales. I will make it as quick as possible. I know today's meeting is informative. So I just wanted to recap you on a few things the sales department updates, trade shows, client sales calls the past 3 months of this summer. So from May to July, there were 166 requests for proposals sourced to industry partners. Great growth of this time of year, year over year. We really saw some really strong growth in our weddings market segment, which destination weddings continue to be huge in our destination, as well as our Midwest and Southeast meetings market. So we were very, very pleased with that. Year to date, there have been 590 requests for proposals sourced to industry partners. This can be attributed to several things that we've really seen an uptick in. First and foremost, the team building on the current relationships they have, but also establishing new, very qualified clients that have the business that fits perfectly into our destination. Along with our upgraded partnership with companies like Cvent, we've added marketing and banner ads on our destination website through our upgraded partnership with them. And also, our Island Incentive Program has received more inquiries than I think we ever have in the past. So that program continues to be a strong rebate program for our destination. This past 3 months, we had 9 site tours and FAMs conducted into the destination. And year to date, definite group bookings, the economic impact has been a little over $28 million. Questions? Okay. A few activities our team's been doing. So the international team this past June attended U.S. Travel Association's International Powwow. There were 6,000 delegates, including 1,300 buyers in New Orleans at IPW. 70 countries in attendance, and the VCB held 143 scheduled meetings over a 3-day period, so they were very, very, very busy. The beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel also partnered with Visit St. Pete Clearwater to host a VIP client reception at Broussard's in New Orleans. Heard it was wonderful and had an opportunity to network with a lot of clients there. IPW will be offered again due to the success of it this year in next year's co-op. We will release the co-ops later today. Please check it out. It's been a great show for us, and next year it's in Washington, D.C. We continue to target that to increase international travel. Domestic travel trade outreach. So our team's been very busy this summer with sales calls and trade shows. One of the highlights of these calls was we were actually invited to Allegiant Airlines, their main call center in Las Vegas, to present to their reservation agents. So our team traveled out there, and over a 5-hour period, we're able to present to 60 reservation agents to present educational destination information, really trying to drive that airport traffic from Punta Gorda down into Lee County. We were invited to come back next year. We've already seen some definite bookings from this. Again, a program that will be offered in our co-op. This year was our first year. It was a great success, and we're looking forward to it next year as well.
I want to add that met with Allegiant Airline this week, talking about marketing opportunities going forward. But while we were there, the folks at the airport, the Charlotte County staff, has been doing an intercept survey and asking the passengers that are traveling through the airport where they're going. And I think the number was about 38% were coming to our area. So believe me, those flights into Punta Gorda are generating room nights in Lee County. So it's a valuable asset to us, and I'm really happy that we got to go out there. But for those of you who are thinking about the co-op, that's a great opportunity to speak with to go out and participate with those Allegiant agents. So
Absolutely.
highly recommend it.
And it's very cost effective as well. I mean, we basically take them a breakfast and lunch, and then you have all this face time with them. So it's a great opportunity. Meeting Southeast Market, I want to give Brian a great shout out. This past July, the Florida Society of Association Execs, we actually hosted it in county at the Hyatt Regency. The Sanibel Harbor Marriott and the VCB were also platinum sponsors of this event. There were 350 buyers and suppliers in destination that attended this annual conference, so we were very excited about that. The Hyatt team, the Marriott team, they really went all out, and it was wonderful for people from in-state to see what our destination had to offer, so we continue to drive in-state group business. Also wanted to give a quick recognition to Kristen Marshall, who's with Sunstream Hotels and Resorts. She was named FSAE's Associate of the Year, so wonderful, wonderful recognition for one of our industry partners, and we were very, very proud of that. Meetings Midwest and Northeast Markets. So one of the events that was a huge success for us this summer was our Boston Red Sox meeting planner event in July. Along with some of our industry partners, we hosted meeting planners from the Boston area in a private suite at the Boston Red Sox Stadium. 26 leads were obtained from this event, so highly successful. In fact, the teams in Minneapolis this week doing the same thing in our Minneapolis market with the Twins. This will also be offered on the co-op coming up. It's been a great success in the past. It continues to be a great success, so if you're interested, please look for this. It's a great opportunity to show our planners all that we have to offer in our destination, especially highlighting our Major League Baseball spring training teams. You can see, I won't read these all, but they're included in your packet. Our schedule for the next 2 months, the team is very busy on the road. We will continue to push a few things to highlight. We are attending the Connect Collaborate Marketplace show in Grapevine, Texas. Very excited about this show. This show attracts hundreds of national meeting planners. We have industry partners traveling with us to that, and that is in Texas this year. Another mission we're very excited about is our Canadian Sales Blitz. It's going to be Toronto and Montreal, as well as we have our Southern Women's Show in Orlando, which is really a driver of the consumer market in-state to our destination. So we'll continue those shows as well. And I did, while I had a few minutes, I wanted to recognize somebody on the sales team as well. Actually, at the beginning of this month, we had a team from the VCB head up to DMAI. And DMAI represents over 600 destinations in 15 countries. And Neil Curiel, he is here somewhere today. Neil, stand up. Neil was selected and honored as one of DMAI's top 30 under 30. Which was really huge for us. We were very excited, not only for our destination to be represented on that national scale, but they also had record submissions this year. So really, really a great honor. We're very proud of him. That is all I have for you today. Please, our co-op rolls out today. Please check it out. We're very excited about the schedule coming up. Any questions?
All right, thank you.
Okay. Great.
Next, we'll have Judy give us a quick update from Visitor Services.
I heard that word, push.
Don't you worry. I will. We have had a wonderful quarter, and so I will be very fast because I want to show you something. This is our quarterly report, and as you'll see by our statistics, we've had a wonderful 3 months. We've worked with almost 45,000 visitors. It's been extremely fun. Visitors are amazing people, especially in the crazy time of that part of the year. You'll see by the next slide here that will show you the best information requests that we received for the different accommodations. And I have to do a shout out to Matt Johnson, if he's still here somewhere, that downtown Fort Myers Historic District. They are really pushing it. Lots of inquiries about what's happening down there. And of course the Edison and Ford Estate, they are hugely popular. And as you'll see by this next slide, some of the great special projects that we dealt with. So much fun working with so many different community partners as well as accommodation partners. You're going to see on there our wonderful prom, which is our Tourism Ambassador Appreciation Luncheon. It was so much fun. As you'll see, we had our own Justin Timberlake, or should I say Sean Corey, leading the dance routine. And it was great fun for those of you who were there. Thank you so much for participating. Our volunteers so much appreciate everything that you do to support them. The next thing you'll see is Tourly, which is our take on our product education training for your 136 tourism ambassadors. We take 50 to 75 volunteers at a time, take them all throughout the county, give them a good feel for what's happening, make sure that they're properly trained and know what's going on. You'll see more about that next month. Our partner participation, lots of things that we do on a community-wide as well as statewide basis. Probably the really cool one there is listed as National Seashell Day, where we worked with Brian and his team. We handed out nearly 2,000 shell necklaces with our Port Authority partners at the airport. We greeted over 24 flights. It was so much fun. And our look ahead here, before I show you something really cool, is of course the e-awards. Each of you have in front of you this amazing, really neat looking invitation. Please make sure you let me know if you're coming, TDC members. There's lots of extra ones here at the front desk. I have to tell you that Simone Bear, who coordinates our program, this lady is Wonder Woman. She has received over 934 nominations this year, which equates to about 488 individual nominees. It's going to be an amazing event. Please come. It's well worth it to recognize the partners that you work with on a daily basis. Obviously, also we work with the great Anna Stone, wherever she went, with the Team Tourism Sales and Marketing Lecture Series. You'll hear more about that a little bit later. Great program on a monthly basis, terrific workshops. And I have to whisper, Christine, are you here? Christine is presenting next month. She was back there in the corner somewhere, and she's doing generational differences at our next workshop, which is going to be really cool. And you're going to hear more soon about the annual meeting. Tam has arranged to have this fellow from Joe Diaz, I believe, from Afar Magazine. It's going to be fantastic. Make sure you come. And we've also been getting questions, plus we're doing more presentations to the community, so people want to know more about what Visitor Services does. So this incredible fellow named, oh, you don't know who he is, Neil Curell, maybe you've heard of his name. He produced this great video written by Sean Corey, so I do want to show you this little very short video, and that will be it from me.
right, Brian, let's get the marketing report. I was going to say quickly, but I don't think that's even in the realm of possibility.
What exactly are you trying to Well, you know, we do a lot. Every department does an awful lot at the VCB. And in marketing, this was the summer of the seashell, right? You know, it's one of those things you can't help but saying celebration, and everything becomes about the shell, right? So because we put so much focus and attention into National Seashell Day and our summer campaign, I really want to do a quick recap to sort of express and share with everybody the depth of what marketing did over the summer with National Seashell Day. So first thing we'll do is go through some paid media. Our strategy and goals obviously bring awareness to our destination as being the shelling capital of the world. We had nearly 30 hotel partners promote in a Book 3, Get the Fourth Night Free campaign that we promoted. Of course, we're driving people to our website. Part of the goals were to generate leads with our Shell Yeah sweepstakes and increase visitation, length of stay, and make sure that our cost per inquiry stayed at $1 or less. So these were partners that we utilized to spread the word about National Seashell Day. You can see that the cost per inquiry ranged anywhere from 1 penny all the way up to 98 cents. And I'll go through some of these really, really quick. Let's see here. So Moby, this was cool because the markets where we were running TV spots allowed us to target people that were on their social media at the same time that the TV spots were running in the market. Because as you know, we are in a device-driven world, so while people watch TV, at least in my household, you're also sitting on your device, so sort of a 1-2 punch with the Amobi platform. TapAd allows us to really target people across all of their devices while they're in the mindset of browsing the related content. So for that, cost per inquiry, 86 cents, about 85,000 inquiries with TapAd. eTarget, this is a custom email platform that we work with leading up to our summer celebration. We had an email go out on May 17th to 1.3 million qualified beach or Florida travelers, those who had interest in coming to the destination, located in our top markets. We really killed it with this campaign. The click-through rate doesn't sound like a lot. To marketers, it sounds like a lot. 1.58% click-through. That's nearly double what the industry benchmark is. Time on site, extremely high, 16,000 inquiries through that campaign. Target Spot, this is cool. You can see our Shell Yeah sweepstakes ad. This is for all of the people that are streaming their radio stations. And so we aligned our digital ads in our target markets during the time periods of when our streaming ads were running. So we hit them with digital and streaming radio at the same time. We were one of the first destinations to utilize the Target Spot platform. Many of those inquiries came from in-state, from Orlando and Miami, which are top feeder markets for us. And you can see 3.4 million inquiries, and an inquiry equals listening to the, as you can see, it would go back, completed radio spot, played through the streaming platform. Can't do much better than a penny a piece. TravelZoo, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with TravelZoo. We wanted to participate in a sponsored blog, which really appears to people as being TravelZoo's own sort of native content about the destination. We're one of the first 3 worldwide destinations to take advantage of this program. We ended up with 81,000 inquiries, 2,000 leads. And TravelZoo felt it was so successful that they contacted us and asked if they could do a case study on the success of the campaign. And of course we said yes. So the biggest thing that we did for National Seashell Day and our summer celebration was Good Morning America. We had the weather anchor, their chief meteorologist, Ginger Z, in market live from Sanibel Island at the Sundial Beach Resort. She posed with volunteers, showed off the Sanibel Stoop, did some parasailing while she was here. A lot of cool things that I will share with you here in a moment. We also, for our investment of $300,000, got 2 national 30-second spots that ran during the Good Morning America broadcast. We did homepage takeovers on ABC stations in our key markets on the day, on June 20th, National Seashell Day. Nearly 7 minutes of national exposure during Good Morning America. And though you're not going to see it this morning because of time, the new Tarzan movie, Alexander Skarsgård actually came out for his interview, you see right there, down here in the bottom left, and wished the entire viewing audience happy National Seashell Day. So it was kind of cool. So for the investment of $300,000, we got way more value for the media integration. And I think it was just a fantastic, fantastic campaign. And I'm going to play a video here for you now. It's been edited together to show some of the clips from that morning on Good Morning America.
On the beaches of Fort Myers, for grabs. Just like big shells, small shells, and thousands of gifts from the sea. On islands like Cayo Costa, Captiva, and Fort Myers Beach. Slowing down means you're surrounded by what matters most. And those are the times you hold on to forever. Plan your trip at FortMyersSanibel.com.
And back here on GMA, we are celebrating National Seashell Day with all of the volunteers right behind me that made this shalom bug. Yes, it's a shalom.
I think the mics were interfering with the sound, so I just put the wolf on mute for a second. Okay, let's see what we can do.
You've got the controls.
Love Bug Pam, the volunteers, thank you for making this beauty for National Seashell Day. I want to just quickly have you hit that console. Put us out. All right, we've got much more from Sanibel coming up.
Back to Ginger, who is on Sanibel Island in Florida. Ginger.
Hey there, Amy. Now I can tell you why we're here and shelling this morning, because we are celebrating National Seashell Day. Yes, that is right. Thanks to our sponsor, the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel. We're here at the Sundial Beach and Resort. You can see all my friends working hard behind me. All right, and folks is about to do the Sanibel Stoop. Pam, let them know we're going to start. Pam Rambo, a celebrity here on the island. So everybody's doing the stoop. It's this, right? You go down, you look for the shell, you get the perfect stance. You get a little sore after a while. Did you guys find anything good? Brinley? Yeah, you got one? You got one to show off? Ooh, that looks good. I think is that a scallop, Pam? Help us. All right. We're learning about shells, and we'll have a whole lot more coming up, but we've also got the cast of Orange is the New Black, so don't go anywhere. More GMA up next.
So let's go back down to Ginger, who is in Florida at Sanibel Island. Ginger.
Oh, and I am okay with starting my morning calling this my office, Amy, just for the record, in case anybody wants to know. I'll do this again. And we are celebrating National Seashell Day, but also, me and my friends here, celebrating the official start of summer. Yeah, that's right, it happens tonight officially, 6:34 p.m. Eastern Time, and I just wanted to get that out there because I know a lot of folks are saying, I'm ready to celebrate. For our sponsor, for the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel, we were able to take a closer look at Southwest Florida with shelltacular shells, some of the best in the world.
Arriving in the city of Palms, I couldn't wait to see it all. So what better way than from way up there?
Why is this different and more better than any other part?
Captiva is a special place. It's hidden, it's hard to get to.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of people out here.
Taking in the sights from more than 200 feet up, flipping and dipping into the water. Sanibel's best treasures? Seashells. I met up with celebrity Pam Rambo to start my collection.
Okay, so I see water and beach. What do you see?
I see seashells.
You see seashells? Thank goodness.
A nice big pile right there.
You get a really big smile. I'm going to tell you right now. I can see your passion.
The shells are more than just beauty, though.
Obviously, a shell makes sand. I mean, you can see that they're a big part of the beach itself. What else is the shell good for? Why is it here?
Well, a shell is a mollusk. So when they die, they leave this beautiful treasure.
What we're looking at is kind of the most beautiful graveyard.
Yes, it is.
In the world.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Here at the Sundial Beach Resort and Spa, we are learning, right, kids? You're learning about those mollusks that live inside the shell, thanks to the Bailey Matthews National Shell Museum. We've got Dory Hipschman teaching the kids this morning, but we also have Rachel Rainbow. Love your last name, by the way.
Thank you.
With a friend from Crow. What is Crow?
Crow is a wildlife hospital and rehabilitation facility. We're actually one of the nation's leading hospitals for wildlife. We take care of animals that are either native or migratory to Florida. And here with me this morning is Lola.
Hi, Lola. So preservation is key.
Yes.
Lola is special because?
Lola is one of our educational animals. One of the sad things about what we do is not all the animals that come in are able to get checked out and make a full recovery. But thankfully, we do have the opportunity to offer some animals that are okay around people, the opportunity to show everyone about why it's important to protect these animals through education.
Thank you so much, Rachel and Lola. Alexander Skarsgård's coming up next, so stick with TMA.
Sorry about the audio issues there, but...
Good.
So, our campaign for our summer celebration, including National Seashell Day, ran from the 1st of May through the end of June. You see there 6.6 million inquiries, average cost per inquiry less than a quarter, which well surpassed our goal, 25,000 leads, and nearly 135 million individual campaign impressions, paid impressions. That didn't even include social media. We had fantastic Facebook content, Twitter content. Of course, we were all over Instagram as well. We had other brands talking about National Seashell Day, including Smithsonian Magazine and USGS. And Ginger Z herself on her personal social media wished everyone happy National Seashell Day and sent some love out to some of our partners. And she even used our Snapchat filter that we put together for National Seashell Day. We did have a hashtag for the campaign, 1,319 hashtag tweets from the 19th to the 21st, nearly 13.5 million impressions of those tweets, and on Instagram, 538 posts, reaching 2.2 million people. One of the cool things, Twitter, you keep track of what's trending topics, and we were nationally trending number 3 on National Seashell Day. Of course, I want to know, why are we number 3? Well, number 1 was first day of summer, okay, and number 2 was about LeBron James winning the national championship tonight. So anyway, pretty good company. In market, we put together a scavenger hunt where we encouraged people to go around and find, how many did we have, Stephanie? 6, 7. 7 different locations where we sort of placed these Instagram-like photo frames that had a different shell featured on each one. People snapped their pictures with it and posted it and entered to win some great prizes from the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel. Some great awareness with that on both Facebook and Instagram. Nearly reached almost 100,000 people and 2,000 engagements for that scavenger hunt. So we had some paid social, of course, to go along with our paid media. One of those things was a promoted event and a Canvas ad, which is one of Facebook's newer products. I had a demonstration of the Canvas ad that I wanted to share with you, but for the sake of time, I pulled it out. But it's pretty cool. It's part of Facebook. Allows you to scroll through, go left, go right, and you really grab people's attention with this platform. They stayed and viewed 42 seconds of our ad, clicked 19,000 times, and engaged with us nearly 15,000 times. So very successful. We did a Find Your Shellmate sweepstakes, 8,000 entries, 212,000 impressions on Instagram, and we brought in influencers. This was done ahead of time. These 5 people, actually 6, because Bobby and Allie are the traveling newlyweds there. You see them, they're a married couple. They come in, they have a really good following on social media, and we brought them in to experience the destination. We took them shelling, and they tweeted about us and Instagrammed about us, and that yielded nearly 3 million impressions between those 2 platforms. There's some of their pictures, posts that they shared, Total social media impressions, 27 million for National Seashell Day. So we drove people to our landing page on our website. We've done this the last few years. In 2014, we only had just over 100,000 people viewing our summer promo page. And now you see in 2016, 240,000 people with a 13% increase. We've run sweepstakes as well the last few years. 2014, 36,000 entries. And we did surpass 2015 this year with 54,000 sweepstakes entries. That's the Shell Yeah sweepstakes. On the day of National Seashell Day, 12,000 page views, and 12% of that traffic came directly from the Good Morning America buy. So if you have any questions about National Seashell Day, certainly feel free to ask later on. I wanted to touch quickly on the Island Hopper Songwriter Festival that's coming up, and my team is working very, very hard on. That is 10 days, September 23rd through October 2nd. We are currently running 30-second radio spots. Actually, we're not currently running them. They start on the 15th and run through the end of September in key markets throughout the state. We're expecting about 12 million impressions when you add our digital advertising to those radio spots. And we're also running print ads to support the festival. So we were lucky enough to get Nashville, one of Nashville's new stars, Maren Morris, as this year's headliner, and a lot of returning artists that have become festival favorites will be coming back to perform as well. Nancy McPhee is our program manager. You usually hear from her when it comes to our grants and the various funding programs that we have. She is at a conference right now, but asked me to just give a quick update on our Arts and Attractions Marketing Program for FY 16-17. $250,000 in funding recommended at the June TDC meeting. Of course, as you know, the Southwest Florida Community Foundation administers this grant program on our behalf. Our review committee meets on the 18th of this month. This year, compared to last, we have 45 requests, totaling $815,000 versus the 36 requests for funding last year, totaling $656,000. The event that they are actually at is the conference for Florida Festivals and Events, and part of this conference they give away what's called Sensational Awards. So you know we also administer the Events Marketing Program, and several of our partners were recognized with awards for the events that the TDC has funded. So the Fort Myers Beach Film Festival received 2 first-place awards, one for their educational program and for their radio commercial. I do want to say this is statewide, okay? So these are pretty big deals. Art Fest actually received 6 awards. 3 of them were first-place awards, one for their sponsor program, their annual report, and their T-shirt, which I hear that T-shirt category is pretty competitive, right? The Edison Festival of Light, 2 awards, one of them being first place for their social media campaign, and our very own Island Hopper Songwriter Festival. We got 2 second-place awards, one for our program and one for our PR media campaign that was second only to the Coconut Grove Arts Festival. So it's really good to see that the events that we're funding are actually being recognized statewide. Whew, lots of things going on, from National Seashell Day to a new consumer website, finally launching on Tuesday. Yes, this coming Tuesday. Stephanie, LA, how many days is that away? We're counting down the minutes, and so I want to give you a sneak preview of the website today. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it's a monster, but we're going to take a quick peek at the website, and the good thing is it doesn't require volume. But it does require internet service. Flip over to Google. Okay, everybody, turn off your Wi-Fi. There we go. What do you think, Amanda? We're going to be good? Oh, I had it. So right here on the home page of the new site, you'll see some ambient video. One thing we have not been doing effectively with our current site is drawing people in. It has been very informative, but now we're going to be using video, we're going to be using photo galleries, and our website has over 100 pieces of new content. And you can just ask my marketing managers, Stephanie and LA, about all that content, because we've been through every single piece of content on the website, and as has the entire staff, gotten involved and supported us to make sure that when we launch on Tuesday, everything can be as perfect as it can be. So this, those are very own Jeff Milkey and family. So this ambient video will not appear on your device, though. The biggest thing that I want to share about this website is that it is finally responsive, which means you can pull it up on your smartphones, you can pull it up on your tablet, and you will have pretty much the same exact experience that you will have on the desktop version. You scroll down, we've got the ability to share brand new content that I was describing that we can change as we see fit. You can order your Lonely Planet guide. You can check out all the communities in our destination. You can look at upcoming events. Here's some native content that we've come up with. Romantic long weekend getaways, gorgeous aerials, and what the heck is shelling. There's content like this through every page throughout this entire website. You can explore the water and check out information about beaches and shelling and canoeing and fishing, what we have to offer as far as golf and nature and sports and our parks and our preserves. Search by theme, what's good for my family, what's good for arts and entertainment, our historic attractions. Of course, you can delve a little deeper and explore by area. Fort Myers Beach, of course, we have the corresponding pin on the map. Boca Grande, Cape Coral, Sanibel, so on and so forth. We've got events listings. We've got a trip planner where you can jump to certain sections, get more resources, go directly to our listings for hotels, attractions, restaurants, and so forth. And of course, everybody likes a good deal. So I won't spend too much time going through this. I hope all of you enjoy going through it this Tuesday. Tim, was there anything else you wanted me to add specifically about the website?
We're excited about it, and we encourage you, as soon as the site launches, we want all our partners to go in and look at their listing, make sure their listing is up to date, images are up to date, and now you can start loading deals again, starting Tuesdays, and I want to encourage you to do that, of course. This is the value season, so let's get our customers some values out there by posting your deals. And of course, those of you who have events, please get your events loaded. The more robust you are about loading your events, the more robust the site is in featuring events. So we rely on you for that component of it. So
on Monday, there will be some instructions to log into our new member portal. It's much more intuitive, I think, but we do have some instructions. And then you'll also have the opportunity to get some on-site training in 3 different locations throughout the county. We will send that information out shortly. Our good friends and partners from MMGY Global, their web development team will come down and provide some training as part of this process. So if you don't know how to log into your member portal or you're having trouble, you go to one of the training sessions and they're happy to help you out. There will also be video training available as we go through the process. Last slide is I just wanted to just put up a list of some of the places where our media is going to be placed this fall. It's great that we have our media buyers here today because, as you know, immediately after this meeting, we're presenting our 16-17 co-op program. But Bob Frohoff from MMGY are over here. They'll be presenting the co-op. But they have got their hands on all of these placements. And so we are very strategic. We're very research-oriented. Of course, the creative team makes sure that we're represented in the best light. If anybody wants to talk to me about where our media is being placed as we come into the fall season, please let me know. I think that's it. Does anybody have any marketing questions?
I have a comment.
Sure.
These images with the birds are amazing.
They're beautiful.
They are just so beautiful, every one of them.
Was that, which one was
With the birds, with the birds in the
dividers.
foreground or background, whatever it is. Those are just gorgeous, every one of them.
Did you like them?
Good job.
How did you guys do for National Seashell Day at the Shell Fest?
We had a great day, you know, it was fun, and we had the shellmobile out there, and so it turned out really great for us. Yes, thank you very much.
Right, it's the Shalove Bug.
Shalove Bug, I'm sorry, I should have remembered that.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, Brian. Francesca will give us the public relations.
Quickly.
I didn't say quickly. You know how to say? I know you're going to be quick.
I am going to be quick. Francesca Donlan, Director of Communications. I'm going to show you some very colorful slides, and we've had a fantastic few months. But what I just briefly want to talk to you about before I whiz through that is some of the crisis communication efforts on our part. We've had, obviously, an unprecedented amount of issues to deal with recently. And I just wanted to tell you how seriously we take that. So we have just developed such a terrific relationship with the county, with Betsy Clayton, who's the communications director for the county. And we as a team, Pamela, Tam, Glenn, our NMGY team, our crisis communications specialists that we can reach out to on our tourism boards, we are handling every single media inquiry that comes to us quite frequently. So there are some questions we cannot answer. Some of them are speculative. None of us can answer them. But what we can do is provide the latest information that we have regarding any of these issues. And what I wanted to say to you specifically is that the best ambassadors that you have would be your staff. So we compile the most up-to-date information. We get it out to you. And I just want to make sure that you are then getting it out to the people who are talking to your visitors, to whoever. I mean, paid advertising is great. This media is fantastic. But if your cousin tells you to come to Fort Myers, that's even better. So when we get all this information that we've worked so hard to do, please share it with everyone that you can. And with that, I'm going to whiz through the good stuff. Here we go. May and June circulation, we're killing it internationally. We've been in some incredible publications. We've had a variety of media trips. I mean, we've had a really, really great quarter. We had the tarpon tournament. Unfortunately, they didn't catch any tarpon. Really, nobody did. But we had a great, great day. Better luck next year. But they loved it. I mean, there's nothing like being out there in the early morning hours. And, we had Hobie come visit. We had the president of Hobie and his right-hand man, woman, actually. And they kept telling us, you have a world-class operation. And, well, we had Tam at dinner. And we said, yeah, we do. So they bring out some of their most recent products. And this one is where you can paddle and Hobie at the same time. And then we bring have more than a dozen journalists, and then they showcase our area. So it's a win-win. Cabbage Key, Tarpon Live, Rob hosted them. Thank you, Rob. And gave them a great time at Cabbage Key. They were so impressed. Then, of course, National Seashell Day, you just heard all about that. We brought in some journalists, some big-time journalists. We had great exposure. We sent out some Shelley media mailers to lots and lots of journalists to tell them about it. Travel Massive is a cool new thing where you get 50 journalists in a room. This was in Greenwich Village in New York City, and we showcased National Seashell Day. Cindy Hinson went out there. She did a great job for us. There's a lot of media coverage. I'm sure you'll read every word later. There you go. We did a great job. National Seashell Day again. We had some incredible coverage. And then Red Sox, Anna just told you about that. We shared that with sales, so it's a sales PR effort. And Poppy hit a home run, bases loaded. So that was a really good day, even though the Boston Red Sox did lose. But it's a great event. They love it. It's a great way to interact with journalists. Shelley Krant went out to Billings, Montana, did an amazing effort at the Outdoors Writers Association. They love our area, so the more we do with them, the better for everyone. And we continue to get really great Chinese coverage, which sounds kind of strange, but it's a huge, huge population of people who spend a lot of money when they come here. They're not here yet, but we're trying to get them to come. And lastly, this is Cindy Hinson on a tweet watering play in National Geographic Channel. So who knows where you'll leave. If you have any questions, please let me know.
All right. Thank you very much. I know it's a long report. I'm going to remind you you had last month off. Jeff, your turn finally, I know.
Good morning. Jeff Melke, Lee County Sports Development Office. Going to go through a number of reports with you very quickly. The last time we had staff reports, our staff was at our national convention, so we'll go kind of through from January on really quickly. So in January 2016, a pretty good, actually it was the best January we've ever had if you go to the bar chart that shows the comparison. Just barely beat out 2015, but it's very similar. It's got a lot of the typical events that we always host. Fantasy camps. We had an AAU gymnastics event that was very good. Perfect game at it, a Martin Luther King Day weekend that helped boost that number. So then you go to February. February we had, it's interesting. You look at the list of events in February, 4,500 room nights. But what we've started to do a little bit, because in March I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how the Gene Cusick Classic continues to decrease in numbers because of the cost of lodging and the cost of our destination in March now. And a lot of college programs can't afford the destination right now. So what we've done is we're starting to see University of Missouri, Seton Hall, Hofstra, some D1 colleges are starting to come into our community in February and setting up for spring training almost. And they're staying here, University of Missouri stayed for 10 days. And they set up and played a lot of different teams at some of our facilities. So then the February bar chart, again, very similar to last year. So whole kind of status quo on that. Let's go to March. March, the biggest, the big dog obviously was always the Gene Cusick Classic. We had 96 teams this year. 2 years ago we had 114. The number just keeps going down. We host mostly D2 and D3s, which again are very budget sensitive. You go to the bar chart and you can see how it's starting to affect our destination. The reason last year stayed up a little bit is because FGCU hosts a collegiate hockey tournament, and again, they're very price sensitive, and it's harder and harder to get amateur sports events to come back here in March. In fact, it used to be that the TDC somewhat had a policy that we just didn't chase after sports tourism business in February and March because we didn't need the tourism help. So we still take what comes to us, but we don't actively market too much for those 2 months. All right, so to go to April. April had the most number of events we've ever hosted in the month of April. I mean, it was pretty excessive. We kept our Parks and Rec team hopping. You've got trampoline and tumbling. You've got some FYSA events in there, which is Florida Youth Soccer. We had the USA Swimming Open Water National Championships, which leading right into an Olympic year was fantastic. It was one of the highest profiles events. We had people from all over the United States coming to not only participate in the event, but actually see how we do business here. The folks who ran the Omaha Olympic trials actually came to Lee County for 2 days because USA Swimming suggested they come here and see how we do and host their event, because we've become somewhat of the standard, the benchmark when it comes to event hosting. I see Elise Flanjak here in the room. Elise, raise your hand. Elise, along with Greg Cross many years ago, started establishing the safety protocols and how we run open water swimming, and we're now nationally and internationally known for one of the best open water swimming destinations in the world. So, and Elise had a lot to do with that in our Parks and Rec system. So, USA Swimming continues to be a great client of ours in April. Then you start seeing some Perfect Game at the bottom. Is starting some new products. They're 13 and under, 14, 11 and under Florida State Championships are starting to pop up. They're little numbers now, but they are first year, and so we're going to see those numbers continue to grow. You go to the bar chart. You'll see that we started going back up. A little bit of that is because, and if there's any bad news that I'll talk about, it's when you see the next month of May went down significantly. It's a little bit of an anomaly because the weekend of the last day of April and the first day of May, we moved anything that started in April, went in April. So sometimes those are events that happen traditionally in May, so they're showing up on the April report. It's pushing April up a little bit more than they might normally. And then go to May.
Before you go to May, refresh our memory, that spike in 2013 and April, what was that from?
That depends a lot on Florida Youth Soccer, and Florida Youth Soccer brings us a lot of their events. It just depends on which one of their events that we're awarded. Most of the time, those bigger events that they host now are in Polk County because Polk County has their state headquarters. So that was one of their big events that we had gotten in that year. So go to May, and obviously the big one is the Perfect Game Memorial Day, one of the largest Memorial Day baseball tournaments that we could find in the nation, and that's even with Perfect Game splitting. They have also a tournament up in Lake Point, Georgia. So for them to have two Memorial Day tournaments going on at the same time, and for us to continue to get that much business is great. And then the other one's FHSAA. This was year one of a new 3-year contract where we're hosting the high school state championships. And they expanded from 8 classes to 9, so that added 4 new teams. This all took place out at JetBlue Park. Canterbury won the state championship, as you all remember. Generated just a ton of positive news for our community, for JetBlue Park and everything else. So then you go to the bar chart, and it's a little bit, it looks grim at first, but the 2013, 14, and 15 were years where we hosted state bowling championships. So we have the men, we have the women, we have the youth. Okay? We didn't have it this year because it rotates around the state. We have the women coming back next year, so that will jump back up again just because of the rotation of the bowling product itself. That represents about 4,000 room nights from year to year. We also did not host, for the first time in many years, a half-century softball event, which is usually 2,000 room nights. They changed state director. He moved a lot of stuff into his town. We've jumped on that, and we have 2 events scheduled back in Lee County for 2017. One in May to come back in May, and then one in September, which is certainly greatly needed in our community. So next May, we'll jump back to what typically looks to be our May. So that, again, was a little bit of an anomaly. Just quickly to go over some of the things we've been working on. Summer was, for all intents and purposes, was really good. When you see the June and July reports at the next meeting, I think you'll be very pleased. It'll catch us back up for the year. Perfect Game, that product last year, I apologize to everyone about the series, about it was the younger kids that really didn't work out too well, really took off this year. Still not the numbers that they expected when they talked to us about the event, but probably tripled in size. So that's going to be great. They moved a lot of their June events that happened last year back into July, those baseball championship series, those ones that are generating 4,000 and 5,000 room nights each. So when I've talked to any hotelier, especially certainly inland property hoteliers, they're telling me that their June and July was very strong, and a lot of it had to do with sports tourism. So we've been, again, I talked to you last time when we talked about some of our initiatives, what Gary and Angel are out doing. We talked about starting to get international, really having an international strategy, and that's starting to pay off already, just 6 months in. In October, we have the Swedish national softball team coming here for a week to train. We also have a 12 and under baseball team from Czechoslovakia coming for 11 days in October to participate in some of Perfect Game's event and to have some clinics of their own. We've been talking with colleges about their partnership with us, especially from their admission side, when it comes to us bringing international sports, international athletes. Would they be interested in recruiting them? And they're absolutely excited about that. Angel and I attended the World Baseball and Softball Confederation's Women World Championships in Surrey, BC, British Columbia, which essentially, because softball's not in the Olympics right now, that was the Women's Softball World Championships. And they had a historic number. They had 30 teams represented there. We hosted a reception. We got them Visitor and Convention Bureau's 30-second ad, and that was shown throughout the world on the live web stream of the World Championships. So it was very successful. And we had some really dynamic sit-downs with the leadership from USA Softball and from the World Baseball and Softball Confederation about how can Lee County position ourselves to help you expand the sport of baseball and softball once we hoped that the sports would get back in the 2020 Olympic Games. And a few weeks ago, it was announced that baseball and softball have been added back to the Olympics for 2020 in Tokyo. And so we're the first destination in the nation that's really having those conversations.
well, it's a partnership with St. Pete Clearwater about being at the very front end of baseball and softball getting back in the Olympics, talking to all of these nations who are now going to be refunded, not refunded like giving your money back, but funded again. In most countries, you have to be an Olympic sport to get funding from that government. And so now that they're back in, these teams are going to start looking for training and how they can ramp up their 4-year program to get back into the 2020 Olympics. So I think you're going to see a lot of exciting things come out of those efforts. Our travel season's about to kick off, so this is kind of where we go in for 3 months, kind of trying to get the business back for, typically now we're talking about 2018 and 2019 in our planning cycle. And then I just wanted to give 2 quick thank yous out. Judy, Tam loans us, and Judy loaned us their VCB staff, their visitor services staff and the volunteers when it comes to NARCH. So we had the North American Hockey Championships again for a 3rd consecutive year in July. And it was a great event. It went up 20 teams from last year. But the VCB visitor services people would sit and welcome NARCH families as they came in and talk to them about all the things to do in our community. And then, we couldn't do what we do without, our typical shout out to our Lee County Parks and Rec Department, who just are the best in the business. And, I tried to get the number before the meeting of how many baseball games we actually played in the month of July on all of our facilities, and it was so many. They took so well to gather that data, but it was literally every day of June and July. We had a baseball tournament in town, or a sports tourism event. A lot of them going on at the same time. We had baseball going on while we had a basketball tournament going on, while we had a women's fast pitch softball tournament going on. Well over 1,000 teams rolling into July, just like has happened over the last two years. So again, Parks and Recreation, just out there every day, sweating, dealing with rain, keeping our facilities the very best they can be. So I don't know if Elise is kind of still with Parks and Rec, so I hope she'll pass our thank you on to them. So any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Hey, we love watching your family grow up in our meetings.
Hi, thank you.
We appreciate his free talent.
Thank you, Jeff. We're now on new business, and this is a attractions marketing funding request, Tamara, again, and this will require some action on our part.
Yes, we have a request from the city of Fort Myers. I provided you that proposal late last week. My recommendation to you is that you fund the portions that relate to Harborside, exclude the portions that relate to promoting myriverddistrict.com and the River District. That is what you have historically funded, is the Harborside component. Encourage the city to utilize the Arts and Attractions Marketing Program to fund their efforts for the River District and myriverddistrict.com.
Colleen, I'm looking to you for a comment or a motion.
I need you to say can you say that again?
What you're
Which part?
recommending.
What I'm recommending? The recommendation is up to $25,000 or $25,000 up to, of course, for the promotion of Harborside. And specifically, they called out some of the things they were willing to do. The travel host, print ads, the digital hosting fee for harborsideevents.com, and social media ads around Harborside, and some graphic design funds, but $25,000.
This is a $25,000 match by the city?
Right.
Well,
What it says.
I have to ask Matt, they will match.
Whatever we give them.
Right.
The city's here. You want to say?
Let Matt speak. I want to put words into his mouth.
Thank you, Matt. Announce yourself.
Good morning, Matt Johnson, Assistant City Manager, City of Fort Myers. Yes, the city has committed to matching any dollars that are funded with this, as we've done historically every year through the CCC grant that we had done in the past.
Any questions of the city?
So to clarify, this is money that you've already been using because you're partnered with Harborside? Like, these are tasks that were done through that before and now have to transfer over to RDA?
No, this has nothing to do with the RDA.
Or, I'm sorry.
This is funds that historically had gone through the CCC.
Right.
And as we're transitioning with the hotel project and the Harborside renovations, we're doing it through the city with city matching funds. And the city has always matched that dollar amount through this program.
So it's the same activities, just through myriverddistrict.com. Similar, right?
No.
Is it local, though?
Well,
I mean, that's...
the proposal, in fairness, the proposal had two components to it. It had
Okay.
the Harborside components and it had the River District components to it.
Okay.
Staff recommendation, my recommendation to you is that you only fund the Harborside components as you have historically done.
Yeah, I 100% agree with Pam. The Harborside, 25,000, absolutely. I think, that was a set aside that we did many years ago. That's part of our events funding. I think it's events funding now. And we have it was 50,000, and with the transitions, they went to the 25. Absolutely, they should have that. They do a really great job with that. I think the problem with money going to my river district is, that is not how we set it up originally. It was really designated. We did the Edison Ford and we did the Harborside through the CCC, and that was a really important thing that we did that we've always stuck to. If we start funding downtowns, there are many other downtowns in our county, and so to just designate that as a pass-through, no question. I just really don't think that's a good precedent for us to set.
Elaine, back to you. You're more comfortable. Tony?
So the amount, here it's saying 25,000, but you're saying take out the myriverddistrict.com from that?
I'm saying they could continue to spend up to 25,000, but it would be specifically on the promotion of Harborside and the Harborside site, not spending funds. Any funds they choose to spend for my river district would not be out.
Would not come out of that,
Correct.
that pot. Okay,
Right.
so the request here, as I see it, when I'm adding up the numbers, comes to 25, but 6,300 of that is myriverddistrict.com. So the question is, do we grant the 25,000 with that provision? Is that what you're recommending?
My recommendation is you let them have up to 25,000 as you have, but exclusively for Harborside promotion.
I can clarify, it's a reimbursement grant.
That's a reimbursement.
Okay, so
We have
see it.
to present them with what we spent the money on before we get it back.
Makes- Okay, Matt.
They spend, we reimburse.
I got it. So if they spend it on that, they're not getting it out of my river.
Correct.
There you
Are we comfortable now? Can I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Is there objection? Show it adopted. Thank you, city.
As always, we appreciate your support.
Spend it in good health. Third quarter budget report. Bertha?
While Berta's walking up, I'll speed this one along. We need a motion for you to accept the budget report, but Berta is available to answer any questions.
Do we have in front of us? Yes. Yes. The report?
You do. Amanda, can you tell us what page it's on?
154,
Oh, right there.
154.
There you go.
Heard a quick summary?
That's the quick way.
Quick summary, 72% spent at the end of the third quarter, so pretty much right on track. A little is what I would probably point out if we weren't probably rushing things along, but
So we're on
under in a
with
few ways.
interchanges. So here I
Yes,
have
sir.
a motion to accept.
So moved.
So moved. Do I have a second? I have a second. Further discussion? Is there objection? Thank you, Berta. It passes.
That was an easy
You hear the train go through?
Yeah. A little whistle, wasn't there? Council information.
There are several items in your packet, lots of late-night reading for you if you're interested. Some great information, though.
TDC member items. Pam, let's start with you and come this way.
Wonderful, thank you. I do have one thing. If you can't make it to the airport tomorrow to see the governor, you can come to the show factory at 5:30 and see him there.
Moving next.
You good?
You're good. Great report. Renee?
Just a reminder of the governor's conference early next month. Do we have a pretty good turnout, do we know?
We do. Fran, can you tell us?
Good. And I guess Fran's going to have some shirts and... Great, so, good. It'll be a good time. That's all I have.
Other Fran?
Just that we didn't have a meeting last month at the airport, but you have some air service, some new service in front of you that Carol did for us today, so each one of you should have that in front of you. It's interesting, too.
Elaine?
That's it.
Two quick things. One is that our business symposium that is next week. If tomorrow's the last day, you can sign up for that. So if you want to join us, we'd love to have you. And for those of you who knew Terry Simon, we have, through working with Paul Bova at FGCU, we have created a scholarship fund that will be used with the Lefferts School of Business. Originally, it was a one-time scholarship for the upcoming semester, but she was well-loved. So it is halfway to a scholarship fund that could be set up in perpetuity. So every little bit will help. We've got our foundation as well as FGCU is doing some matching funds, and we've had some nice significant donations from some of our community partners as well. So if you're interested in donating, we can collect up to the end of the month. Just come see me, and I can send you a link, and every dollar would help support this, and then we'll keep you updated. Hopefully that we would hit that 25,000 mark. We're over halfway there that we've raised. Originally, we thought we would do 3 at $7,500. We would do 3 $2,500 ones, and so it's been great to see the outpouring of love and affection for Terry. So if you want to do that, let me know.
That's it. Bill?
Just as we saw the numbers, I run 5 resorts in Florida. We're starting to see a softening in the market. The glory days of the 6% and 9% RevPAR increases that we saw, I think we're starting to see it come to more of a plateau. And the only reason I bring that up is just, everybody's starting to get geared up for budget season, so I'd keep that in mind. I mean, we've got the STAR meeting coming up next month. My gut feeling is we're going to see somewhere between a 2% and 3% increase next year only. So we're seeing less calls at all of our hotels, longer stays, and the consumer is buying very short term right now, very short term. So still flat to last year, most of my resorts, and last year was the best year we ever had, so can't complain.
Beautiful. Brian, welcome again. Any comments on your first meeting?
Thank you. Appreciate the welcome. Appreciate being a part of the board. And I think it's my duty to remind everybody that the Lee County Hotel Association is on August 25th, and the meeting will be at the Hyatt Regency Coconut Point. Come on down. I'll give you a nice tour.
Welcome again.
Thank you.
Rob?
Yes, thank you. Some of you might have noticed in the news there's been a lot of talk about something called a CWA. It's a critical wildlife area, and it's the Florida Wildlife Commission that's proposing these. They proposed since 1988, they proposed about 20 of these. This year they're proposing to add around the state about another 16. There are a number of them in our area, in the Pine Island Sound area and down in Estero Bay. 3 in the Pine Island Sound area, essentially there to protect islands that have been considered rookery islands, and they are looking to do a no-access zone around those specific islands. I think we'd all agree that we want to protect the wildlife. It's a concern of mine that we set a trend that starts restricting islands, especially for us that rely so much on the fishing community. The islands proposed for this time is the Usepa Island Oyster Bar. I want to point that out because NBC2 reported it as Usepa Island. Obviously, they're not going to restrict access to Usepa Island. It was reported wrongly by NBC there. And so for our friends on Usepa, we don't plan on closing Usepa Island anytime soon to visitors. The other one will be Broken Island, and the other one is Hemp Key up in the Pine Island Sound area. I don't know the ones in Estero, but something you might want to start paying close attention to. I think as a council, we may want to discuss because people probably have opinions on both sides of the issue. But again, I worry that you close 3 and then next year you close 3 more, and before you know it, we've got very limited fishing areas for back bay fishing in Vineland Sound. Thank you.
Tony?
Question for Brian. The Lee County Hotel Association is on the 25th, is that correct? So is that the same day, just for clarification, that the Horizon Council and Business Appreciation is at the same time? Okay.
It is.
I just wanted to verify that. I knew that, I didn't know if there was going to be a change there or not, but okay, so I just wanted to make sure on that. Secondly, after we do all this hard work at Governor's Conference and all that, it's time to let your hair down and get out to the island. Island Hopper starts on the 22nd out in Captiva. There's daytime activities, and for those of you who want to stay up a little later than past Jeopardy, you can certainly get a room and enjoy the libations and have a great time, because whether it's a Captiva or Fort Myers Beach or downtown here, it's a great thing that this our community has put together, and congratulations to the VCB on the 3rd anniversary of the Songwriters.
Thank you, Tony. Tamara has one quick PS.
Okay, so we're going to have, I know we've had a lot, we're going to have a quick video, very quick, and then we're going to have a special guest that's going to show up as you leave. And we really want you to leave because we're ready to have the co-op meeting. In fact, we're late now. So watch the video as you gather your stuff up and head out the door and meet your special guest.
Mr. Chair, rather than queuing that up, can I, one item?
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Want to let you all know that perhaps before you meet next, the ordinance change allowing for the common reserve that we've discussed so many times could go to the BOCC, won't be before September 20th, and it could bleed into October, but just in case it happens in September, wanted you to know that. And again, that just very simply allows those fund balances to be transferred after all expenditures have been closed out to a common reserve. Thank you.
And we'll keep you up to date on when that goes before the board electronically.
Folks, this has been a great meeting, busy, productive though. So thank you for your patience, and I know you were on the edge of your seat since we didn't meet in July, but it was a good meeting. Tamara, do your thing.
Go ahead and roll the video, and you guys have a safe rest of the summer.
To begin on a project like this, you have to come up with an idea. The idea was to have something to celebrate National Seashell Day on June 20th. It ended up to be over 200 pounds of shells and over 1,200 hours. We've had so many smiles. It's been really, really fun. We've even had some tears of joy after seeing Shell Day.
You guys, will you